Welcome, welcome, welcome to CHOPS and Pops. It is May 3rd, 2015, and of all the sights and sounds to be seen and heard, you are here with us. Thank you so much for listening here on our YouTube channel. There have been some interesting things this week, and we're going to get there soon. But first, I am Andy.
And I'm Andrew.
And I'm Shane. And actually, just for the beginning of the podcast, I just want to say this for anybody who's giving it the time of day but not sure if they want to listen fully or not. Don't forget that right below the video, there, if you click on the More Info button, we've actually broken it down to the exact times of our discussion. So if there's, you don't want to listen to the whole hour, you don't have time to, you can always skip ahead or skip to specifically which part of the show you want to listen to. The times will bring you to that exact point of the podcast, so definitely make sure to do that if you tune in and tune out. So,
The magic of the internet.
exactly.
Wonderful.
All right.
And
So-
thank you to everyone now at this
Yes.
point that's subscribing and listening and giving us the time of day wherever you are in the world.
We are grateful. Thank you.
It's
Super
nice.
grateful. So, as I said, there are a lot of things going on in the world of wrestling today. And I like to call this little section the
jabroni beating. Wow!
Oh yeah. Because it's The Rock.
Yep.
Electrifying.
He is the most electrifying man in sports entertainment.
Well, there's a lot of stuff to get into with the news. What do you have? Because I have quite a few things. Because some major stuff happened this past week.
There were some big things. I'm going to start off with something a little bit funnier. Big E Langston
That's way off from where
is currently having some Twitter issues, only because a fan asked him to prom. And he said if she reached a certain number of retweets, that he would go in a singlet. And after an interview with Renee Young, where she urged fans to retweet, he's going to be wearing a tuxedo singlet.
Adorable.
Please find it and retweet it, because I would love to see that picture someday.
As would I.
Now, to be fair, I passed it over to you, but let me get this straight. In the week that Verne Gagne passes away, you want to kick off the show with Big E Langston going to
Yes,
prom.
absolutely. It's
All right.
it's happier news before we get into
That's
the
fair. That's
the
fair.
less.
It's a pop that has to go with the chop.
It's the necessary sugar in your medicine.
So is that it for high school news?
That's it for high school
Okay.
news. Yeah. I
Well-
mean, there's some other stuff that I have too, but it's stupid. It's so stupid.
Well, Verne Gagne did pass away this week at the age of 89. I believe it was Monday. It could have been Sunday night into Monday. Big loss for the wrestling world. Lived a long life. Towards the end, there were some things that happened that were not that great. It was actually a couple years ago. There was an incident where, since he was suffering from Alzheimer's, he actually got into a fight with one of the people at the home that he was staying in, that he was being cared for, and an unfortunate incident happened where the guy died after a body slam.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm bringing that up because I didn't think you guys knew about it. I hate for that to be the first thing that I mention for a guy
Right.
that was that great to the business and did so much. But yeah, I mean, really to focus on the great side of Verne Gagne, the AWA was an amazing organization. It got criticism for being the promotion that didn't really change with the times when the WWF was getting to where it really was. But I loved the AWA when I was younger, and even especially when the WWE started paying tribute to it more with that DVD release that they did. Just so many amazing talents came out from that company, and even something as important as Hulkamania really does kind of get, at least, credit has to be given to the AWA for Hulkamania being brought into the WWF because he was there first. And Hulk Hogan is kind of the representation of why the AWA kind of didn't evolve with the times, because they had a star like him, and it didn't get the company to where it really could have gotten to because they focused more on the sports side of it because
Right.
of, you know, how much more of a serious wrestler and grappler and, you know, catch wrestler that Verne Gagne was with the
Mhm.
Luthezes and the Billy Robinsons. So, yeah, so they had Hulk Hogan, and they lost him, and that's when Hulkamania really started with the WWF. But so many great, amazing performers came through the AWA, including Mr. Perfect, Scott Hall,
Yeah,
Razor
yeah.
Ramon.
Mm.
Just so many great guys, and as much as people blame it for not being able to evolve and change with the times, I still think there's a lot of great AWA matches that you can go back to and watch. But that was the company he ran, but he had an amazing solo career himself decades before that. Many amazing matches between guys like I named before, Luthez and Billy Robinson, that you can go back and still watch. But a great loss to the wrestling world. He passed away at the age of 89, and he'll definitely always be remembered in the wrestling world.
No doubt.
Oh man, what a change of pace that was.
Yeah, from Biggie's high school prom date to
Yeesh.
great like Verne Gagne. But speaking of somebody as great as Verne Gagne
Mhm.
and being a king of the ring like
Ooh.
Verne Gagne was, the king of the ring came back this
Yeah.
week. So we could talk about that.
It was back. It felt kind of rushed, but I read that the plan was originally to have it run until May. But when May was decided to be a free month, the WWE kind of fast-tracked the whole thing.
Yeah. Well,
Which I think kind of worked. I think I liked how fast it kind of happened. I liked that there was, like, the finals were exclusively on the network. I liked that was, like, the incentive to, like, oh, check out the
Yeah.
network because you'll only find out the results. Well, I mean, other than, like, SmackDown, but, you know.
but for what the matches ended up being, I think that it was good the way that they did it.
Yeah.
That I think if it was dragged out longer, there would have been more criticism. There
Mhm.
would have been people dissecting it more.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, with a week passing and nothing happening, you know, people would hypothesize, you know, which way it could go and
Mhm.
what they could do with it, and then be disappointed when it doesn't go that way. Like
Did you
most
hear
fans do.
R-Truth talking about Wade Barrett being, like, the king of the water spiders or something
Yes.
like that?
Oh,
It was
great
like a
promo.
backstage segment, and he's like, R-Truth, how are you feeling about things? It's like, I thought I got all the spiders, but apparently he was, like, the king of the water spiders. And it's like,
Because he
What?
was asked if he was made king of the ring, what he would do, and the first thing he said he would do, get rid of all the spiders. Yeah, spiders. What a brilliant man.
Well, to be more specific, what did you guys think of the actual matches that took place at the King of the Ring? Between the matches that took place on Raw, which were, I guess you'd consider them quarterfinals,
quarterfinals.
and then the semifinals that took place at the actual King of the Ring event on Tuesday.
Generally, I like them. I'm a little upset with how Dean Ambrose kind of got screwed out of the whole thing
Yeah.
because Dolph Ziggler had to come in and beat up Sheamus.
Uh-huh.
But
That was one of the better matches, though. I
Yeah.
thought was Sheamus and Ambrose.
Yeah.
Sheamus and Ambrose was good. I mean, I really liked the final, and I liked I liked Neville. Was it Neville Sheamus?
Yes.
Yeah.
I liked every Neville match actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's really
Yeah.
great.
He
He's
stood
out in
really
the
something.
tournament.
That was going to be my point, was that every match he was in was perfect. Ambrose did what he was supposed to do and actually got to face a real pro in a real match with real setting and real risks, and everything was great. I liked the most that the man I often find myself fighting for finally got his due, and a king now rules a U.S. facet of life.
You know,
You're a
I
bit-
was I was ready to say, like, during the match, because it was like, I think Neville's gonna win this match, and I was gonna be like, I'm afraid I've got some bad news, but apparently there was bad news.
And I'm never somebody who would ever complain about the length of time that they give for matches. I think that you could still have greatness in short matches, and it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I did think that at the very least, the semifinals and, if anything, the finals that took place on Tuesday could have been given a little bit more time.
They did seem short.
Yeah.
You know what? Even if it was just the finals, because the finals was Barrett and Neville, right?
Yeah.
They came down to Neville. That even that match I wish could have been a little bit longer. But overall, I mean, I don't think it was anything to be disappointed about. It really did come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They announced
Yeah.
it at Extreme Rules, and 2 days later, you're watching the finals. But
I kind of like that. I kind of like that. There's like they're keeping you on your toes. They're like, oh, by the way, King of the Ring. You're like, what? Whoa, what?
Yeah.
That was my
Because,
reaction on Monday.
like you said before about how like if they gave it more time, you would think like, oh, you know, what's gonna go happen here? What's the storyline here? But it's just like, oh no, this is happening. Here's who's in it. It's like, oh, what? Okay.
And it helps do what it meant to do, was push Barrett. Is what he needs to be, taken for.
Oh yeah.
Anything else to add on the King of the Ring?
I wanted to know your guys' opinion going into it. Was there anybody when you saw the bracket that you were like, well, they shouldn't be in this? Like,
See, you just threw me for a curveball. I thought you were going to say the opposite of who you thought was going to win and who you thought the whole tournament was made for. Because originally I thought the whole point was either Sheamus or Barrett.
Yeah.
So Barrett winning wasn't, the end of the world, but Sheamus was a big expectation. R-Truth would be up there.
Yeah, the filler of the whole thing was definitely him. But he made it work. I love the spiders gimmick. I mean, it had nothing to do with anything, but it made it work.
I guess. I mean, I'd love to see Ambrose win anything that he can, but I don't think a King gimmick would really fit him, so I guess you could kind of lump him in that. But, I mean, he lost right away, so I guess he wouldn't really be.
I feel like King Ambrose would be cool because he would just wear the cape everywhere and it would get, like, torn and tattered. And just like dirty, and he would just be like, whatever, all right.
Uses it as a weapon in every match.
That's true.
Like hit somebody and then like grab the mic and be like, "You've just been kinged," or like the other day, it'd be really funny actually. I wish that would have happened.
I hope Barrett tries to bring back taxation without representation.
Well, you know what? That's going to be interesting. Is just seeing what Barrett does with the gimmick because we really haven't seen yet. So. And
I think it's good that he has it just because of everything that's going on with Bryan being out for so long. That I think there was going to be a program with him and Bryan for a little bit, and now that seems like it's not going to happen because he's not coming back for so long, it gives Barrett a way to not fade away.
That's true.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Also, though, in talking about specials that happened on the network this week, Stephanie McMahon did a podcast just like us, except we don't televise ours. And it was on Talk is Jericho. Did you guys watch the whole thing?
Negative.
I watched parts of it.
So I'm the only one that saw this thing?
I thought about it, but then everywhere that I read, they were like, it didn't really, it wasn't as shocking. There weren't, like as shocking questions as, the Stone Cold one. So I'm like, well, I don't really want to just see him, ask safe questions.
Yeah.
Like, at least, political. The John Cena one, he's like, well, do you use steroids? And, how do you react to, being booed all the time? Those are questions I actually want to hear Cena answer.
And, I mean, he can still play it safe and say absolutely not. Yeah. But when you don't even ask the question to begin with, it is very safe.
He could have been like, well, how do you feel about China getting in the Hall of Fame?
That's a no-no word.
That's a pretty hard question. But, I mean, there's some stuff. Do you think, the Attitude Era was a bit too risky? Especially with what your involvement and, it was your father and everything.
Well, to be fair, the one thing he did bring up that kind of falls along those lines is he brought up her boob job that she got done during the Attitude Era. And that's what we sort of mean when we say that, you can still ask the question and still kind of give an answer that defends it, in which she kind of said, it was such a dramatic change to her body image that you couldn't not acknowledge it. So she had to say something. So it wasn't just the idea of making it some storyline or pointing attention to it. It was the idea that, everyone was going to notice anyway, so why not just kind of, point out the obvious.
Right.
But if you guys didn't watch it, I mean, really the only thing that I would say would, that there was a takeaway from it that I thought was kind of interesting is she finally brought up, her children in saying that she her one daughter wants to become a diva.
Ooh.
And I think one of the things that people have wondered this whole time with not really knowing, knowing that the bloodline always continued from Vince Sr. to Vince Jr. to now Stephanie, was there another McMahon that was coming up that would be possibly even taking the company from Stephanie, long way down the line. But and it wasn't even brought up in that way. She was just kind of saying she wanted to be a diva more than, some business associate. But looks like we might be getting more McMahons years from now.
Depending on her age, and I don't mean to sound creepy, but do you know how old she is?
She said she was 8 years old, and she's already trained with Natty and wants to be a diva. She's a natural heel. That was the main point.
Can you imagine future daughter McMahon versus daughter Warrior?
I never even thought of the fact that they're around the same age range. Wow.
Can you imagine that?
Well,
both trained by Natty.
That's true.
If she was your favorite child now, you could have her step in as that'd be so cool, special referee Natty. That'd be great.
Well, the Warrior Girl is going to have to take the job or do the job. So
I know.
Yeah. So
That's sad.
But we have a lot to talk about, so if you guys didn't see it and those are the main points, we should probably move on.
We should.
Two major things happen with TNA, and we never talk about
We
TNA.
do never talk about
Do
it.
not press the skip button, listeners. It's not that bad.
No, TNA's getting better. I'm almost, actually, from everything that I'm hearing, I'm almost going to start watching.
I gotta
actually.
say, you know what? I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but if we're even just going to bring up their name, we never talk about them, and, you know, rightfully so, they get a lot of criticism, but they've been on kind of a roll. I'm not saying the show's perfect. I'm not saying it's the best show around. I'm saying they're producing good shows now, and it's worth watching.
Yeah.
But beyond that, the two big news stories to come out of TNA, Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins has joined Impact Wrestling. And Jeff Hardy injured his leg in a motorbike accident. What do you guys have to add to those two things?
You know, it really sucks for the Hardys because they just won the titles.
Which is super weird because they just won the titles for being in a tournament because the Wolves had to vacate the titles because Eddie Edwards broke his leg.
Right.
So there's like this weird
Curse.
curse.
Don't they like tape in advance for TNA?
They do.
So he has. I think there's some leeway. I was reading that he has like 6 weeks to heal. So like they're gonna try to like set up a storyline to work around the injury.
That's really difficult though because as much as they could procrastinate till Slammiversary, which is in like mid to late June, they're doing even though they tape Impact, they're doing a live episode this Friday.
Oh, boy.
And then after the live episode, they're taping the next like 3-4 weeks.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to do that right now. But who knows?
Hmm.
What about Billy Corgan?
You know, the bullet with butterfly wings. He is. You know, that's actually pretty cool. I've never. I don't know much about Billy Corgan in the realm of wrestling, but I think it's cool to have some fresh eyes on things.
Well, in terms of his involvement with pro wrestling, he started his own wrestling company.
Oh.
Back in 2011. It was called Revolution Pro. It's still technically around, but he left the company this past Thanksgiving. As far as I know, I don't think full details came out on what went wrong. He was trying to get some sort of TV deal with AMC
Oh, okay.
for Revolution Pro, but it wasn't going to be just, here's our weekly wrestling show. It was going to be a reality-based show that showed like the behind the scenes of how to create a wrestling show.
Right.
When that fell apart and AMC, you know, turned it down, he left the company that he started himself 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
I'm all for being more bold with business decisions, and I hope Impact actually does get some good publicity out of this, and people actually turn their heads and watch because of this, because I think that's good for everybody, that there's some type of alternative, whether it's competitive or not. My question is, where does this leave them? What's this going to do for them? What kind of guy do you think Corgan's going to be for them, and how it's going to really change things? If you had to guess, because I don't know anything about his business.
I'm assuming it's creative. I don't think it's anything as performer-wise.
Knowing
no,
nothing
definitely.
that I know about Billy Corgan, just from what you told me about how he wanted to create a show with more reality-based segments, I feel like he's kind of gonna make like more like the reality era is supposed to be in the WWE. You know,
I see what you're
Is it
saying.
even the reality era anymore? Like, is it really?
That's what
Like,
they want.
It's a loosely based.
Have they moved
Yeah.
on to anything? Like, have they moved on when not even realized it yet?
I don't know. It's tough to say because some would say the reality era began with The Miz being a reality TV star headlining WrestleMania,
Awesome.
or taken with a grain of salt. But it could be that we watch things like, again, we were saying the Stephanie McMahon podcast was kind of very safe. But they're kind of doing shoot interviews on the network now, even with that new Renee Young show.
That show's awesome.
It-
Unfiltered.
Did you see that?
Yes.
It's like
You saw
6
that too,
minutes and
Andrew.
it's great.
Yeah, but it nothing about Seth Rollins was in character.
Right.
So, in terms of how you're going to define what their reality era means, that could be part of it too, in that they've
Right.
never pulled back the curtain in that sort of way.
I think their biggest thing with the reality, quote-unquote, era is that they're trying to make it more interactive with the fans, make it crowdsourcing, and we saw it with the main event, which I'm sure we're going to get to.
We're in the interactive era,
Uh-oh.
where the fans actually have a say, and by a say I mean there's a thin line where it's like, oh, you're voting for this, like, oh, we kind of want this, so
I
maybe
think
we'll
they
just
want us to think we have a hand in
Yeah.
it.
Like,
That's a good way of putting it.
like, oh, do you want Reigns or do you want Orton? Or do you want both?
I voted for Reigns.
Just Reigns?
Yeah, because why should I don't want to see him face Orton again. I just don't.
But you might have coined the term. Maybe it's the interactive era.
I think that would be a good name for it. The interactive
Copyright that.
Copy, get it.
How do you copyright? Do I mail
I
it
don't
to
know.
myself?
We didn't even copyright Chops and Pops. So.
How do we do
Listeners,
that?
if you have any experience with the copywriting,
How do you copyright anything?
I think if anybody had the experience, they wouldn't give us credit. They would just go copyright it themselves.
Oh, interactive area. Good idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll take care of that for you. And just roll in the money.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
That's all I got for news. Unless
All right.
you have something else.
I have a couple things, but I think I'm going to save it for later.
Okay.
All right. So, we spent a lot of time talking about America. I think that it's time to unleash something that we've been planning for some time, that we used in our preliminary stages of getting this podcast together. We had an international section that we haven't been able to do yet. But guess what? We're doing it now.
We mentioned it once before, and
We
the whole
did.
point of it, with especially bringing up TNA, is we talk about WWE pretty much always,
Right.
and it takes up the entire show, and we've never meant to be just those WWE guys. And I feel, not to stereotype anybody out there, but I feel like maybe unless, you're friends of ours, whatever, that if you're taking the time to listen to this, some random guys who you don't know as a podcast on the internet, you're probably not the type of person who just watches the WWE. That you're probably a guy who bounces around, maybe watches, indie stuff, international stuff. So we want to cater to those people too.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, with that, we bring you Worldwide News.
All right. This is what went down this week worldwide. Pro Wrestling Noah officially announced the former three-time Noah GHC heavyweight champion and one-time Ring of Honor world champion, Takashi Morishima, is retiring due to the abnormal numerical value of hemoglobin HbA1c in his blood. Pro Wrestling Noah also informed that there will be a retirement ceremony for Morishima. Detailed time and venue. Wow. You know what? Cut the music. I'm pulling a Shane Douglas. Cut the music.
Cut the music.
Cut the damn music.
Hold up.
Please don't go Christian Bale.
Start that one again. I'm
Start it
doing
again?
Yeah,
All right. Let's try it again.
That got a little marbled mouth. I was a little unready for that. And now this is what went down this week worldwide. Pro Wrestling Noah officially announced that the former three-time Noah GHC heavyweight champion and one-time Ring of Honor world champion Takashi Morishima is retiring due to the abnormal numerical value of hemoglobin HbA1c in his blood. Pro Wrestling Noah also informed that there will be a retirement ceremony for Morishima. Detailed date, time, and venue will be announced soon. Speaking of Japanese wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling held 2 pay-per-views over the course of this past week, Wrestling Hinokuni and Wrestling Duntako. Spoiler alert, skip ahead if you don't want to hear this and know the results. 3 major title changes happened between the 2 events, with Tomohiro Ishii losing his never openweight championship to rival Toji Makabe, while both the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships and the Intercontinental Championship changed hands at Wrestling Duntako, with the Young Bucks winning a triple threat match against former champions Roppongi Vice and the Time Splitters, and Hiroki Goto defeating Shinsuke Nakamura. Beyond Wrestling returned to their home base of Providence, Rhode Island to hold a doubleheader event this past Sunday with a matinee entitled Scorned and an evening show called When Satan Rules His World. Match announces were made for their next event on Sunday, May 31st that will feature a debuting Samoa Joe taking on Chris Dickinson, and for the first time ever a steel cage war game style match with the Crusade for Change taking on a group made up of Beyond Wrestling originals yet to be announced. In other news, rumors have surfaced on Jeff Jarrett's booking plans for the first round of tour dates for his newly formed company, Global Force Wrestling. Scott D'Amore and Sanjay Dutt are reportedly working as office managers for the organization, and rumors are that they are approaching some performers still under contract with other companies and promising a minimum of 39 dates if they agree to a deal. Even though that is all just rumors for now, Jarrett has also officially announced that a baseball park house show tour that will kick off in Jackson, Tennessee on Friday night, June 12th, while the first TV taping will take place at the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada on July 24th. And that is what went down this week. World War. And speaking of worldwide,
That was damn perfect.
That's good.
I wouldn't say that, but
Well, it fit the music.
well, yeah. But speaking of worldwide, if you didn't pick up on it, I forget if we mentioned this on the podcast already. That incredible 80s/90s music that you heard in the background wasn't just for us to pretend that we're actual reporters. That is the actual theme song to WCW Worldwide from the 90s. And
Isn't
that's
that
why
cool?
we use it.
Reps.
But here's the thing. I throw that all together, so we kind of just like block it into 2 minutes. But from what I said, is there anything that kind of stands out? Because in talking about other companies, Jeff Jarrett starting Global Force Wrestling is kind of a big thing. And
Yeah.
I think
That is kind
deserves
of a big
being
deal
talked about.
because he wants to get people from everywhere, and I think that's an awesome move. I think it's kind of it's a bold direction, and I think that's I'd like to really see how that pans out because I think that's going to be something really interesting.
I agree. I hope it works out for him, in all honesty. I hope he doesn't screw up the booking the wrong way and make it during a season where WWE season is just going to bury him full force.
Well, they're not. I mean, they're kicking it off in the middle of the summer, and that's the
Yeah.
lowest time period for
Yeah.
wrestling.
Good for him. I think the baseball park idea is a good idea. That should work
Yeah.
to people's advantage. I've seen that before work. But is he still some type of ownership with TNA?
He does. Even though he left there, he still owns 20-something% ownership. So it's really just
Okay.
him kind of playing. They do not have a working relationship with him at all.
I'm sure.
It's really just for him to still collect cash on his own creation, and he's fully escaped from there and is doing his own thing now. But yeah, he still has ownership in TNA.
Then you know what? I am a full supporter of his venture into capitalism. Go get him, Jarrett.
You know, I brought it up in the report. I kind of stand on the other side of the fence. I mean, in a positive way, it's always great for wrestlers to have more places to work at. But I'm not a huge Jeff Jarrett fan, and I feel like his booking was a lot of what ruined TNA, and he always wants to put himself over more than anybody, and I don't know if I have 100% confidence in his booking abilities. Don't get me wrong, a lot of old TNA stuff was great, too, but I'm iffy. I'm not exactly on board of thinking like he's going to change the world with this. I'm kind
No.
of more in the wait and see.
Yeah, this
approach.
is going to have to go in a completely different direction if he's expecting it to succeed in a way TNA never could.
Yeah, and just to kind of cover the other things, I know you guys aren't as familiar, and I kind of rushed through this to fit it into that 2 minutes or whatever of the song. But Takashi Morishima retiring is huge. You especially being a Daniel Bryan fan, Andy, has a lot to credit Morishima for. They had some amazing battles in Ring of Honor, and Morishima is just an amazing Japanese wrestler who's been around for a very long time. Most people who know Hideo Itami when he was Kenta in Noah had phenomenal matches with Morishima. I know a couple of my friends are huge fans of his. It's a real loss, and it came out of nowhere. And he just has to abruptly quit now, and it's a shame we're losing him.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of international stuff.
It
Andy. I
is.
feel like
I think we
we're-
need to take it back to a place more familiar, a place more red, white, and blue. Oh yes, America. Oh yes. This is a big week for things in America. It's May the 4th tomorrow, Star Wars Day. And may the 4th be with you. And of course, the most American holiday of all, Cinco de Mayo, where college kids get drunk off of cheap tequila and make bad decisions. Oh boy! I know what I'm doing Tuesday night. Being a responsible person. Yes! Also, America, get your police situation correct in regards to police and rioting. There's an answer somewhere, and violence is not it. Civil discourse is the best action. We need to be united in these states of America with pursuit of happiness and justice for all. Manifest destiny and all that jazz. Kentucky Derby, boxing, rah rah rah. America's #1. Ha ha ha. Thank you.
Andy, 2016.
Yeah. You know, it actually took me a long time to write that one because I didn't want to.
Oh no, I wasn't even thinking of the idea of commenting on anything to do with any of that. But the second you did, I cringe a little. But the fact that you just say that violence shouldn't be the answer, you're not really pointing fingers at anybody.
No.
And both sides of the fence are wrong for violence. So
I agree. I think.
that's fair to say.
Yeah, I think there's. Yeah, exactly what I said.
And let's move on.
Yes, let's do that. Before my shoe inserts into my mouth.
Back
And
to wrestling.
Speaking of violence, we should start chopping some people.
Let's do that noise. Big old chop.
Ouch.
Gentlemen,
Chop of the week. Who wants to go first?
my chop of the week goes to my new knife set. It slices, it dices, and chops.
Really? All right, Andrew, your chop of the week.
Okay, I got two, so I'm going to call them 1 and 1A. My first one I got is the main event for the upcoming pay-per-view. And I enjoy when they do this, that they let the fans pick who they want, when they want it, and how it's going to happen. I just feel like we got worked this time. Because if there's any way, any type of match that we're going to watch Seth Rollins crawl his way out of, it's going to be a triple threat. It's not going to be a one-on-one.
Right.
You're not pulling the sheets over anybody. I could be completely wrong, but I'm steadfast in my belief in that. I'm not a fan of it. I will watch the match, and I'll most likely enjoy it because they're great wrestlers, but I don't enjoy what it's going to be. My 1A is Michelle Beadle.
Beetle.
Now, for those that don't know, she was supposed to be a part of Floyd Money Mayweather's camp this past weekend. As part of the press, she was denied access, though, after, allegedly, it was found out that she has a very strong stance against domestic abuse. Floyd Mayweather has a past in that, yada, yada, yada. Listen.
Maybe
I don't-
yada, yada, yada isn't the way you want to follow up talking about domestic abuse.
I'm not trying to gloss over the fact of how serious
I'm
it is.
with you in terms of, like, I'm not a Beatle fan.
Right. And I'm not trying to be any more specific than this, but I just don't like how she went about it in the wrestling industry after Floyd Mayweather won. Triple H, COO, sends out a congratulatory tweet on how impressive Money was, and of course he was because he is the best, but in no way do I think that he was endorsing someone who has a past of domestic violence.
Right. His
Right.
positive comments had nothing to do with that.
Completely unrelated, but Michelle Beadle said she is, quote-unquote, turning in her fan card of the WWE after witnessing that display.
We get cards? I guess
You know
mine's
what?
lost in the mail.
Sayonara. Smell you later, Beetle.
Again,
We
I
won't
don't
miss you.
want to say that the domestic abuse is in any way, shape, or form
No.
a minimal seriousness subject. I don't think that, but the way that this all went down with Michelle Beadle, fans will understand.
Well, the one thing that I want to ask you about your chops is if you have an issue with the triple threat match at Payback, I hate to use the term killing time because that should never be used if you're trying to entertain fans, but obviously Seth Rollins isn't going to lose the title yet, and he's going to have it for a little while. So this is kind of, again, don't want to say killing time, but we need to get past this because he's not losing the belt yet. So what would you rather see Seth Rollins be doing right now if you think the triple threat is such a mistake?
I'm old-fashioned. I think he should win one-on-one. I think we should endorse him less of a snake, more of a strength guy, but that's who he is.
But
in
he's
the
a
end.
heel. He
Yeah.
has to be that one.
I know.
You know what's really funny? Seth Rollins was booked to be so much stronger when he was Mr. Money in the Bank. Like, he was beating all these people, and then he cashes in, and he's just like Mr. Chicken.
I don't know about that.
You know what? I'm kind of in between you both because I kind of believe that he's always been that worm.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I've noticed that change too. he's being extra slimy.
Extra.
It
Yeah.
like really like doesn't get into any offense and
Yeah.
is really like especially the steel cage match.
Mhm.
That was really just him trying to
Well,
Yeah.
make space.
let's not forget he's probably trying to play the exact foil of the last champion,
Yeah.
right.
who held it for such a long time because he was a strength type of person.
Who do you think should be the one-on-one match if that's what you'd want to see?
Roman
Or-
Reigns.
Really? Okay.
I think they should end the Randy Orton thing. I'm not going to say I'm disappointed by their matches that they're putting on, but I just want a different type of. I just want a different flavor in my mouth for the matches.
I think maybe they're just kind of holding back on it, and we're gonna get that. It's just not right now. It could be SummerSlam. It could be Battleground. I think there's definitely
Yeah.
a one-on-one Rollins Reigns match coming up soon. It's just
Not
yet.
not this soon. Okay.
Andy, chop of the week.
You know, I really don't have a chop this week, which is crazy.
No-
Everything,
nothing bothered
like
you.
things were just okay. Like nothing was really just like that was awful. Everything was just everything kind
I
of.
beg to differ.
Everything
I
kinda hit me in
beg
the
to
car.
differ. There was something incredibly awful this week.
What happened this week?
Well, my chop of the week.
Oh God.
Booker T's insensitive comment about Owen Hart on Monday Night Raw.
See,
That meets the definition of awful. And I don't blame Booker. I'm not saying he would ever make that comment on purpose. I don't think
Right.
anybody would. Everyone knows it was an honest slip-up.
Mm-hmm.
But come on, man.
Yeah.
Of all things to say, he didn't defy gravity.
No.
And again, without it even being on purpose, I have to give him a chop.
Right.
I mean, Booker T could whoop me, but I'm going to chop him this week for that comment.
Sorry, Book.
Do you think anything? Do you think anything went on in his mic after that was said?
Oh, yeah. And supposedly the report was it just went dead silent. And Vince, or I know Triple H works in Gorilla a lot more now for Raw, but and Vince will tear you apart. Example, Byron Saxton.
Oh God.
In when he will tear you apart in your ear. But supposedly the reports say from people that were standing around Gorilla, I got to choose my words wisely because I was about to say it went dead silent. But yeah, there was supposedly just silence over the headphones because they couldn't believe he even
Yeah.
those words came out of his mouth.
See, I missed that on Raw because I was working on Monday night, like late, so I kind of just watched like clips of matches, so I didn't hear that tidbit.
Yeah.
That probably would have been that would have been a chop for me. That's that's awful. Oh, poor Owen Hart. What a terrible thing.
Awful.
Let's cheer things up.
Let's
with
let's
the
do
pop
that.
of the week.
Such sad things sometimes. This is gonna be loud. Just a heads up.
I hope you're not wearing headphones, listeners.
It's funny because it's really loud for us, but when it gets mixed down and sent to you guys, it's normal.
Yeah, that's fine.
But for us, it's like it's an explosion in our eardrums, and I can't turn the headphones down. Because
Would you say it's a pop in our eardrum? Oh.
it is? It is.
Okay. Pop of the week, Andrew. Pop of the week.
Okay.
Pop it.
If it hasn't been made obvious already, my pop of the week goes to King Barrett.
Woo!
For winning the, I don't want to say inaugural because it is not inaugural, but the first in many years King of the Ring tournament. I love that they brought it back. I love the matches that they put in it. I think every wrestler they chose was a great, solid choice. I think they're really bringing that division alive.
Mhm.
And they had so many ways they could have gone with this, and anybody could have seen the good push that would have been received by any of them. Barrett getting it makes me all kinds of happy because this guy has been kept in as a gatekeeper, so to speak, for a while. He hasn't really been at the top since the Nexus was formed. Now he has something on his resume that they could use whenever they want. Hopefully he just runs with it a lot better than Miz did with his championship
Yeah.
and similar styles like that. All hail King Barrett.
Yeah.
Or King Bad News. I don't know.
He's bad news now.
Yeah, that has a better ring to it. King Bad News.
My royal decree. Cinco de Mayo.
The winds of
You're
change.
waking up on Wednesday morning hungover from too much tequila. Throwing up in your toilets. See, I hope he does that on SmackDown, because that would be wonderful. So my pop of the week goes to Alex. Well, it goes to Kevin Owens, actually.
Rage.
I give it to him because he finally got to give a powerbomb to Alex Riley on the apron, and I've been waiting for this to happen for quite some time, and they keep teasing it, and like Finn Balor saves him, and then it's finally, he gets to do it, and it's, you know, it sucks for Riley. I guess it really sucks because his job now is to just get beaten up, I guess. But man, it was so satisfying to see him hit the edge of that and just drop.
Yeah.
Does that make me a sick person?
No, I think most of the WWE roster would agree with you because he's not a well-liked man in the locker room. So I think a lot of people like seeing Alex Riley get his.
Yeah. When I see Alex Riley, I just think of the person who all their life wanted to do this one thing for a living. He finally got his chance. And it's not going to be in the same way as he always thought it would be, but he's still getting to do it, and he's proud of that. He's just not in a good,
That's an
safe
interesting
position.
but great way to put it, actually.
That's what I see.
You know what Alex Riley needs? A new picture.
What do you mean?
Because when they show the matches, it shows like a picture of Owens, then it shows a picture of Riley, and
Oh,
Riley
with his
looks
flippy?
about a decade younger
Oh, boy.
than he looks now. Like,
Not enough rage.
no, he looks like, hey bro, want to get a brew?
Right.
Yeah, his look now is definitely better than it was.
No more Letterman jacket.
Oh, the Miz.
So Shane,
Well, my pop of the week is going to NXT.
I love NXT so
But-
much.
Not for their TV show. For
Oh.
two things. One, their upcoming pay-per-view card. The card itself is pop-worthy because the matches are going to be great. Anytime you can get Zayn Owens in a match one-on-one is going to be an amazing thing, especially for the NXT title. But they also announced a number one contender triple threat match between Hideo Itami, Finn Balor, and Tyler Breeze. And I am highly, highly looking forward to that match. And the rest of the card looks great too. But there are two things I'm giving my pop of the week for NXT, and it's not just the pay-per-view card. It is for the birthday present that Andy got me.
Hey.
Because for my birthday, Andy bought me tickets to see NXT live.
I
Awesome.
did.
And that was my pop of the week because I could not be more excited than going to an NXT show and seeing that amazing roster. And it's going to be fun.
The kid, you dig that sucker?
Personally, I thought it was much more shucky ducky worthy than sucka worthy.
I could do that.
Cody Rhodes.
Oh, shucky, ducky, quack, whack.
That's more like it.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, I'm actually really excited for that show. Like,
It's going to be good.
it's so soon.
Yeah, they
Like, it's
put on...
like a week away. It's like a week and a half away.
Yeah. I love Finn Balor, man.
He's
great.
Uh-oh.
Finn Balor. I'd love to talk about Finn Balor, but
Talk about it because
it's
that sounds like your disapproval of
we're
him.
but we're getting close to the end here. It's time to count down. My shoulders are on the mat. The ref is raising his hand, and
Is the
it's
show
that.
over?
But wait, there's more.
There's more! Oh my god, it's the false finish! How about that noise? Speaking of Finn Balor, in an interview, he said that he is likely going to challenge Cena for the U.S. title, and he would have done it the first night because he was in the arena, but once he heard Cena do it, make the announcement that someone to run out, he was hurriedly trying to throw on his gear.
I think that's a work.
I
but,
think it is too.
Probably.
I think that is too, but I think he is going to answer the challenge one night.
I hope so. That would be highly entertaining.
It's different.
He doesn't get to make that call. So.
No. I hope he does. I want that. Because that goes with he said in an interview that he said, unless he's dead, he's going to be in WrestleMania 32. So.
That was actually what Cheap Pete. That was show with Peter Rosenberg when he did the interviews before Access.
And that's wonderful.
I mean, yeah, I'd love to see him there. I have my doubts because
Right.
I think even some of the guys high up on the roster are going to have a real hard time getting on that card. It's going to be the biggest event they ever hold, and I think right now that they already have a lot of marquee headlining matches that are already taking up the bulk of the card. I mean, 31 had 7 matches, and we could probably already name at least maybe 4 of, huge names that plan on wrestling at WrestleMania 32.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of spots left, and unless Finn Balor means he's going to be part of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal,
Ugh.
I don't see much room for him.
So he's just going to get lost in the shuffle.
Well, I
Most
mean,
likely.
he's brand new. I
Yeah.
mean, he can be at 33, 34, 35, and that's not an issue. I just think 32 is a little brave to be predicting that this early, but
Man, I can't
I
wait for
hope so.
Texas.
Yeah.
Texas. WrestleMania Dallas star.
First play button, now star.
God, I hate
Fun
that
stuff.
star.
Another thing. Apparently WWE is really high on Lana, and they would like to make her the female face of the WWE. As
I'll
they
take
should.
it. I like her face.
Apparently there's
She
also
has a face.
big push for Eva Marie coming because of her increase in training, which you should check out. She's actually getting better.
I've seen that, yeah.
She did a pretty convincing head scissors. So, hey, and it's good to see someone put the work in. So,
Well, I mean, AJ's out the door. Bella Twins are threatening it.
Mhm.
They got a plan for the future.
yeah. And if there's somebody that has the look that they want, willing to do the work to get to perform like they want, why not?
Yeah, no
Right.
doubt.
And, I mean, there's all of NXT coming, so.
Yeah.
you know.
Actually, speaking of NXT, one of the things I want to throw in for the false finish, and you guys might not be familiar with her, but Mary Dobson is a international indie wrestler who got a chance on NXT this past week in her match against
Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch. That's
Mhm.
right. So a lot of people were psyched for that, and she actually got a huge chant from the Orlando crowd, which was
Huh.
pretty cool. But I definitely wanted to acknowledge that.
Ooh. I did not like that match.
You know what? I didn't pay full attention to it. I was watching NXT. I kind of zoned out a little bit for it. You know how people
Mhm.
look at their cell phones when they
Yeah.
watch TV.
What?
Yeah, it
It
happens. Yeah. But I noticed the chants, and yeah,
Mm.
I can't really say much about the match itself. But
Yeah. Just a quick recap of NXT. Rhino wants to take Baron Corbin down a peg. Yes! Oh my god! Yes! I hope he lays him out, which probably isn't going to happen. But
will Andy get his wishes at the next?
will
NXT
Rhino
pay-per-view?
gore a hole through Baron Corbin and stop him dead in his tracks?
I wouldn't be against that.
Probably not going to happen, but I can dream. Dana Brooke looked better this week. That's it.
No bunt punt to the.
No, I was waiting for it. She got Bailey in a similar situation. I'm like, oh my god, is she going to do it again? And then she did, and I was like, okay, good. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And Riley Zane was great. They had some quick squashes with Hideo and Balor beating people up. Breeze calling out Balor. It's great. Bailey and Emma and their weird feud thing over Emma trying to tell Bailey that you can't be nice all the time.
God, I wish that was better than it is.
It's coming off really strange. That's probably the only thing I don't like on NXT right now is the way that's kind of playing out. I don't know if it's just the idea of the feud or if it's the way that like everything's kind of going. Like, oh, she stole my headband and like my
Yeah.
shirt and like I'm really upset. And
All the trivial stuff that would
Yeah.
never take place on a WWE
No.
roster.
No, I mean you have like Becky Lynch and like Sasha like about to tear each other apart.
Mm-hmm.
When you have feuds like that and you have like Riley and Owens like literally like they can't keep their hands off of each other. And
There's just no fight between
No.
Emma and Bailey. It's like it's like two elementary school girls as opposed to high school girls.
Yeah.
It's like
you
They're-
stole my beret. No, I didn't. You stole it. I'm telling the teacher. Like that's it. Like that's
exactly
what they're doing.
it. Wish it was more than it is, but it's not,
I hope
and it's
it
not
gets,
going to be.
I hope something happens. Ugh.
I was expecting Bailey to, when that feud first began, to just get a dark side.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Imagine
really
she
go,
comes like the blow up inflatable like waving arms guys are just black.
Yes.
And there's like pyro now.
She's not giving hugs.
I don't give out hugs.
Yeah.
I can't think of a word that rhymes with that has an ugh sound that's like violent. Like
She's
I don't
into
give
bugs.
hugs. I give.
Drugs.
No, that's like you can't give
I don't know
drugs.
about that.
I don't give hugs. I give drugs.
I give bugs.
I give pugs.
I give thugs.
thugs.
That's a catchphrase.
A
catching on.
gangster Bailey.
She drinks from mugs.
I give mugs.
She mean mugs. I
Mean
don't give
mugs.
hugs. I mug.
I'd buy
yeah,
that shirt.
You know that'd be okay.
Hashtag mugs, not hugs.
Mugs, not hugs.
I give shrugs.
shrugs.
She wears Uggs.
Speaking of shirts, the WWE has released the Click Rules shirt.
Too sweet.
It's too sweet, and
Too sweet me, bro. Too sweet me.
it's it's likely to coincide with the Click Rules DVD to be released. But some are speculating that they're doing it because they're like, no, we still use the too sweet thing because of their ongoing problem with the Young Bucks using the too sweet.
Well, the Bullet Club in
Yeah.
general. But I love the Bullet Club, so quit it, WWE.
yeah,
We
I
all
mean,
do.
They have, Balor, and they've coined the term,
Balor Club.
Balor Club already. So like
You already got their lead
Yeah.
guy. You
Yeah.
already tried to take him down. It's just they're not going to die because they got
No.
AJ Styles to replace him, and
Yeah.
he's pretty badass himself.
Now-
I have just two quick things that I want to add for the false finish.
Okay.
One, and I was going to throw this in the worldwide thing because it's more of an international thing. Even, well, I mean, it's taped in LA, but
Mhm.
I had a mini heart attack this week because I sincerely thought that Lucha Underground was no more and that it was in ruins. Because there were pictures posted online of somebody who visited the set.
Mhm.
I can't talk today at all. And the set was broken down, but not in a way that makes you think that it was just, taken down and would be replaced again. It looked like it was an abandoned set.
Uh-oh.
And it looked like they were getting rid of parts and, things were being set up. It was very worrisome. But come to find out, Lucha Underground just finished its first season, even
Okay.
though their first season consisted of a good, 40 episodes.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
it's just really the end of the season, the last taping that they did. And supposedly it's pretty much guaranteed, as far as I know, that there will be definitely a second season, which I'm assuming would probably be around the fall since that's when it premiered last year. But there's no guaranteed date yet of the beginning of the second season. So that's why it's kind of so left up in the air, and I guess the set wasn't really preserved the way it should be.
What's the main thing going on there, Lucha Underground?
Well, I know I give away spoilers on this show, but there was some major stuff that happened at the very last TV taping because it was the end of the first season.
Right.
I don't want to give that away because people love Lucha Underground, and I think I'd probably be murdered if I gave away what happened. So I won't say, but just keep watching these last few episodes that are going to air. It's a great show.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't even watched everything myself. I watched everything of all of 2014, and I started working into January, so it's been a couple months that I've missed, but it's not even the matter of keeping up with it to date. It's just so well done with
Oh, man,
their
I can only
characters,
imagine.
with their storytelling, with the way they shoot it, with the backstage segments they do,
Oh, yeah.
with everything, and it's just a great show, and it would be a huge loss if we lost it, so I'm going to have to play catch-up.
I love that culture. I love that culture. I love how they respect wrestling.
Yeah, it's a great show. But number two, the only other thing I wanted to throw in before we wrap things up is Funkenstein.
Woo! Woo!
Nobody knows what that means.
No, but we should tell them what that means.
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is because I just found out about it today. Funkenstein Incorporated is actually a store at the Englishtown Flea Market. I had no idea that it existed. And we took a trip over there this morning, and I was very happy when I found that there was a wrestling superstore with dozens and dozens of action figures, which isn't really my thing, but they had racks and racks of DVDs and rare DVDs, which is my thing. So I picked up a couple, and I'm just kind of mentioning them here on the air because nice guy, and yeah, I just want to put them over because I think anybody who lives in the New Jersey area and likes that sort of thing, they had DVDs from everything from New Japan to, I think it was IWA, to other Japanese stuff, to PWG, to WWE DVDs, to Rare TNA DVDs, to CZW, to just everything under the sun. And
They even had VHS tapes.
no, you know what? I don't want to leave this one out. They had Chikara, which you never see sold anywhere except for online. So really, they just, it's worth browsing and worth looking at, especially if you take the trip out to Englishtown. They're not paying me to do this advertisement.
No.
I hope maybe if I give them a heads up that I'm doing this, hey, throw a free DVD my way. I'll take it.
Heyo.
But it's at the Green Building, booth number 35 at the Englishtown Flea Market. They're there Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm reading that off the card that they gave me.
Heyo.
But they also do vending, and they're at a lot of indie shows in the New Jersey area. I know he said he does a lot of vending with CZW. But yeah, just check out the store if you're a wrestling fan, because trust me, it's worth it. And I picked up some good stuff today.
Could I ask an off-topic question real quick?
What's that?
Did I miss something on our first episode, or am I just not thinking of it right away? Do our listeners know that we're based in New Jersey?
I don't know. To tell you
No,
the
I
truth.
don't think they
I
do.
mean, well, you know what? I think the show is growing from the ground up to where episode 1 was for friends and family to,
Right,
check it
right.
out. We're doing this. We're obviously not making money from this.
No.
And,
no.
we've already earned our geek cards pretty hard. And we do this for fun because we enjoy it, and we do it weekly because so much happens in 7 days, and we just kind of like to recap. We talk like this in our living room anyway. This is just kind of putting microphones in front of our face.
And including you guys.
Yeah. So yeah, we are in New Jersey, and we're starting to expand the show. We do have listeners in the UK, which is unbelievable. And we have people who have checked out the show from everywhere from India to Australia, which is insane.
Heyo.
So yeah, I mean, if you listen to this, and we are strangers to you, we're based out of New Jersey, and which is like a mecca for a lot of wrestling stuff. So it's
No
kind of
doubt.
the perfect location. But we're gonna branch out and reach more strangers. So I guess that's worth mentioning.
Well, just because you said that they're from Englishtown, I wanted to make sure people
Yeah, we're
weren't
not in
looking for
England,
their
that's-
local
No.
Englishtown,
Yeah, that's
We
true.
are from New Jersey.
That's true.
Anything else, guys?
I do have something else that I actually was afraid I wasn't going to be able to say. So, I think the New Day versus the Brass Ring Club is the greatest feud ever. Only because of Natalia's Twitter account. Natalia made a call to retweet sad pictures of cats because New Day makes them sad. She started this by tweeting a picture of her sad cat. What cat, may you ask?
I was waiting for it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Thousands of people have responded with pictures of sad cats and
sad
dog.
cats across America. Hashtag sad cats.
Sad about New Day.
Oh, I thought you were going to say sad about you.
They really
Or
turned
sad
this
about
new.
new.
Sad about new. Hashtag
really-
sad about new.
Uh-oh.
Copyright that.
Get it trending, people.
Get a t-shirt.
Hashtag sad about new. None of us are happy about this New Day.
You know,
Back to
I'm
the-
not happy about New Day winning over the the Brass Ring Club, but I'm starting to like them because they're kind of being
Different.
themselves more lately, a little bit. I don't know. They seem like they're having more fun now.
I think there's something.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
I think there's something to be said about how the WWE's not giving up on them for whatever reason. We don't know behind closed doors. But last week on the Extreme Rules show, I was awfully impressed with what they did.
Yeah,
That was a great match.
it was a great match.
I have my own reasons of why I think they give them the belts. I'm not going to say them on the air. But I do believe it does have to do with the state our politics are at in America. I'll leave it there.
So, Linda McMahon looking to venture out of the WWE with McMahon Ventures, an organization to empower women to pursue leadership roles and entrepreneurial opportunities. Which ties into what you said, because hopefully this works better than her run at politics. Buzzing! Hey!
Hey-o.
So, we're really getting close to the end of time here. But, quickly, I would love to hear Shane, tell me a story.
Oh, I forgot about that. How close are we? What are we doing on time? All right. I mean, we don't have to do it. I mean,
It's kind of a cool. Just, if you could do it in a minute or two.
I'll try.
All right. And now, kids, story time with Shane.
This is so creepy. All right, story time with Shane. I found out 2 interesting stories about The Undertaker this past week, and I figured it was worth mentioning. One involves The Undertaker's big phobia, and wow. Okay.
Roll with it.
Yeah, I'll just keep going with it. This is so weird. And the other story involves The Undertaker dropping acid. So yeah. The first story involves a road trip that The Undertaker took with Paul Bearer, God rest his soul. Undertaker was very involved with staying in character, especially when he was in public, for lack of better terms, kayfabe, and he never would expose himself to break character, so when he was driving on the road with Paul Bearer, there was an occasion where Paul Bearer had to use the restroom, while at the same time they had to fill up their tank for gas. Well, The Undertaker didn't want to wait any longer, so he didn't want Paul Bearer to use the restroom first, and demanded that Paul Bearer pump the gas into the car before using the restroom. Well, it ended up happening that Paul Bearer wet himself, and he was not very happy about that, so to get his revenge on The Undertaker, he knew about one weakness that no one else knew about The Undertaker. His extreme fear of cucumbers. So, at a live event, to get him back, Paul Bearer cut up a number of cucumbers, placed them into the infamous Undertaker's hat, and handed it to Mark Calloway, in which he freaked the F out. And that's basically that story. But the other story is about Undertaker dropping acid with the one and only PJ Polico, better known as Just Incredible or Aldo Montoya. And it was back in his Aldo Montoya days because the WWF was touring to Europe. And on that airplane flight, PJ decided to drop acid with The Undertaker. Well, The Undertaker's way of freaking PJ out was to get on the ground of the airplane and crawl around like a cat, hissing at him, making cat noises. Even worse, once the acid kicked in, he began falling into character as The Undertaker by rolling back his eyes, sticking out his tongue, and terrifying the ever-loving shit out of PJ Polico. And that's my story of The Undertaker's fear of cucumbers and dropping acid with Aldo Montoya on an airplane to Europe.
You won't get that anywhere else, folks.
That's amazing.
And anyone that doubts the stories, the way I found out about it is the Paul Bearer story comes from a Paul Bearer shoot interview, so it came from the man himself, while the acid dropping story actually came from a shoot interview from PJ Polico. So take that for what it's worth. It's not just me. True stories of The Undertaker.
That was so worth the music.
Right? So worth it. So
a segment we'll probably never do again.
No, but I'm going to save that music for later.
All right.
Anyway, that's it for us here at Chops and Pops. You can check me out on social media Twitter at YDNAGIACCONE. I say some stuff sometimes. Maybe read what I say in 140 characters or less. Holler.
If you want to reach me, Andrew, I think the best way to reach me would be through our Chops and Pops podcast YouTube channel. If you're listening to this, you are most likely on YouTube already. So just do us a favor, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'm not against anything. And just leave feedback. Chops and Pops podcast on YouTube.
And, yeah, I'm going to kind of repeat what Andrew said. I hated to ever be that guy with the podcast, but it's kind of the way things go. We would appreciate it if anybody listening would actually take the time to subscribe. We have a couple subscribers so far. We just appreciate you listening anyway, but we always appreciate feedback too. We just appreciate. But yeah, leave your comments. Could be positive, could be negative. If there's stuff you want to hear about that we're not talking about, bring it up. You know, we will take the criticism. So, yeah.
If you want to hear more story time with Shane, let us know.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you do.
Leave a comment
But-
below if you want more story time with Shane.
Yeah. I don't think so. But yeah, thanks for listening. We do this every Sunday night into Monday morning, and come back and listen again.
Yeah. So from all of us here at Chops and Pops, have a great tonight.
Peace out.